Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Jeremy Poon, and I'm your host for today's webinar. I'm excited to be joined by Trevor Jones from the Warehouse Group in New Zealand, who'll be today's main speaker. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This webinar is being recorded. Upon completion, we will be sharing slides and a link to the video recording, and it'll be made available to all participants. You can ask questions via the chat, and I'll collate and ask them in line or at the end of the session. I'll begin with a brief introduction to Elastic Stack, really to ensure that we're all on the same page, provide some context for the parts of the stack that the Warehouse Group use, and then we'll switch into hand over to Trevor, who will share his story about his journey with Elastic. We'll close with any questions. So with that, I'll get started. So when we think of search, we often think about a text box on a website. And our expectations are for instant search results at scale. However, search can be so much more than that, and we find that search is omnipresent in our lives today. Best way for us to demonstrate that is to walk you through a few examples. When you hitch a ride with Uber, Elastic is the engine that powers the Uber marketplace that connects drivers to riders. Think massive scale, millions of users, and dozens of countries. There's a complex data model and query behind this search involving the drivers, geolocation, the products, and time. So this search needs to be super fast and, of course, super scalable. When you search for a taco place that's open at midnight and accepts credit cards, Elastic is the technology powering that search. So it's not just geospatial lookup of something nearby, it's also taking into account data points such as the reviews of the outlet, the cuisines on offer, and maybe the opening times. So what's key to that search is that it's super relevant as well as super fast. And for the gamers amongst you, Elastic is a tool that Blizzard's reliability team use to ensure that players are enjoying a great experience. Real-time player experience is monitored using Elastic, and when a player or players experience a slowdown or an error, their monitoring team use Elastic to get to the root cause. So think about 20 billion messages a day and a troubleshooting and telemetry problem that requires immediate remediation. It could be the difference between virtual life or death for most of their users. So think speed, scale, and relevance for that use case. So the constant throughout those examples is search. Typing in a query in a search box is definitely search, but also zooming or moving a map to see results in a new location, that's also search. And when you zoom in on a histogram to check out network performance latency, to understand what's unusual, that's also search. So what is Elastic Stack? At its core, Elasticsearch is the capability that is the search and analytics engine that powers super fast search and super relevant results. It's also a schemaless data store that can be used to capture a wide variety of data sources that have a multitude of use cases. From Elastic's perspective, we've got four main components of the stack. The two ingest components are Beats and Logstash. Beats are lightweight data shippers that help you quickly get data into Elasticsearch. Logstash is a data enrichment capability that can allow you to maybe enrich that data before it goes into Elastic, and Kibana is our way of visualizing the data inside Elastic so you can search and explore it. We're not hung up on you using these components outside Elastic. You can certainly directly engage with Elastic via our APIs. To run Elastic, you can either download the software and use it directly. We call that standalone self-managed. Or you could take it as a service where we run the infrastructure for you on public cloud and you run it and we provide you the output. Some customers want to use the benefit of the cloud, but actually deploy it in their own infrastructure, and we call that Elastic Cloud Enterprise. In today's webinar, we'll hear the journey that the Warehouse Group took with Elastic. And in their case, they didn't make use of Beats, Logstash, or Kibana. They simply used our SaaS offering of Elasticsearch on Elastic Cloud and interacted to it via our APIs. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Trevor from the Warehouse Group.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hey, hello, everybody. I've got, I hope, quite a tale to tell you. See, I want to talk about returns validation, which isn't really the as much fun as I don't know, running big video games or ride sharing or any of those kinds of things. It's a business thing, but it's important to us. So first of all, what I'd like to do is just tell you about the Warehouse Group, who we are. The Warehouse Group is a group of companies. There's the Warehouse, Warehouse Stationery. Hey, take a guess what they sell. Noel Leeming is our appliance and electronics store, and Torpedo 7 is sporting goods and outdoor stuff. But I'm here to talk to you about the Warehouse, specifically today. A discount retailer. We are the sort of Walmart in New Zealand, that kind of thing. We're not the same as Walmart, but a similar kind of thing, general merchandise and apparel. We've been around for 37 years, and you'll find, if you're traveling through New Zealand, it's a landmark. You go into just about every small town, every city, there's going to be a Warehouse store there. And we're really big in being part of the community. We do all sorts of community, charity kind of things, and you probably find a sausage sizzle going outside just about every store, and most kids will have earned some money for their scouting adventures or whatever by running one of those sausage sizzles. And because we're a discount retailer, sometimes we sell things that might not work. There could be a problem. So it's easy to return. It's going to be easy to return stuff, and that's helped establish trust amongst the community. And I just saw in this month's Reader's Digest, apparently we've been voted the most trusted retail/department store in New Zealand. That's, pretty cool. So this is our logo. You notice the green bit over here? That's a stylized version of New Zealand, which I'm just raising this to help explain my accent. I don't think I have an accent, but everyone says that. New Zealand's a small country for nearly 5 million people, and we're slightly bigger than the UK in terms of landmass, but way smaller in terms of population, only about 7%. But fortunately, everyone shops at the Warehouse. I'm guessing everyone in the country has been into a Warehouse store at some stage. So let's get to the main point of what I'm here for, talking about returns validation. Now, I've put here a picture of a docket, the sort of docket that you would get when you buy something from just about any store. It comes out of a thermal printer, probably immediately gets crushed, or you lose it, or folds up in your pocket and then it fades. You notice down the bottom, I've actually put, we did this a wee while ago, we put barcodes at the bottom of a docket. The idea here would be that if you came back to the store with whatever you had, we could scan that barcode off the bottom of the docket, and we could use that to figure out what you bought and how much you paid for it, and make sure that we got everything right and link it up and show that it had been returned and so on. We've got 10 years worth of that, which, because of the scale of what we do, I mean, it's small on global standards, but for New Zealand, it's pretty big because there's billions of transactions. And we went down this path trying to do this with one of our smaller brands, Warehouse Stationery, that I mentioned earlier. And we used Solar. That's another Lucene-based search engine kind of thing. And that was pretty successful. But we were running that pretty much as big as it could go. And we need to get at these billions of transactions at quite a big scale. So I went Googling. Solar had done well for us, but we needed something bigger. I went Googling and found Elasticsearch, and I found things like this. Look at this. Broadly distributable, I like that. And open source, another good thing. I like this enterprise grade thing because, we're an enterprise grade thing. So I wanted it to be like that. And Jeremy touched on all of the beats and Logstash and those sorts of things. You see a lot of that sort of stuff going on with the Elastic Stack, but I like this elaborate API thing because I figured as a developer, I could make it do interesting things. There might be things that didn't happen out of the box that I wanted it to do. So that interested me. So I went down a path of trying to figure out, can we use Elasticsearch? First of all, as Jeremy said, I just used the open source product and built it on the Mac, actually, on my desktop. And then discovered that, no, I need to go a bit bigger than that. So this is just the open source, downloadable version of Elasticsearch, and I put it into AWS and started feeding that index, that cluster that we built. We got the point of sale machines to take an in-memory image every time there was a transaction. And that's from our warehouse and warehouse stationery stores. And we fed that all just with a store and forward version of what we're doing into the index. And we'd set it up. So an easy way to transfer what the point of sale machine is doing was turn it into a JSON document. And hey, that was a bit of luck because Elasticsearch loves JSON. And for the last 10 years, we've been feeding data in a relational kind of format into our data warehouse. And hey, thanks, Doug, the BI guys managed to take the data warehouse and turn it back from a relational model back into a document model. And we fed that into the index as well. And we've loaded billions of those into the searchable index. We started doing this in November, and we went live with it just before Christmas. So here we go. The architecture, I mean, it sounds like a big thing, but really when it boils down to it, it's just a bunch of computers reading and writing to an elastic cluster. We've got about 1,500 of them. And I tell you, they're all busy come December, and they're all sending sales information that needs to be indexed pretty much straight away into our elastic cluster. And about 200 service desk computers, those are the ones that you go to when you take back your toaster and say it's broken or whatever. And that needs to be able to get to the elastic cluster and find the original transaction. So this makes perfect sense for us to go live with this just before Christmas, our busiest month. Well, we managed to take it live, and almost straight away, we ran into the odd performance problem. It would be okay in the morning, and then as we got to the middle of the day, we found that the searches weren't going as fast as we could. So we'd put this into Amazon, but before we went live, we wanted to secure it. So that's where I met Jeremy, and we started talking about putting it into Elastic Cloud. So that, hey, I'm a developer. I've heard of DevOps, but I'm the dev bit. I want somebody else to do the operations. So that's why we put it into Elastic Cloud. And I'm so glad we did, because we hit some performance problems, and pressing a couple of buttons, we had a 5-node cluster. No downtime, we just made the thing bigger, and all of our performance problems went away. So what I'm going to do now is give you a bit of a demo of what a team member does when someone brings back their toaster. They could scan that barcode off that docket, but there's a real good chance that it's been screwed up and not scannable. So team member is going to go and find this toaster, and they're going to do it by doing search. That's what Elasticsearch is about. So it's a white toaster. We've lost the original packaging, so we don't have the barcode. Could be any one of these 25,000 things. Did you buy anything else at the same time? And this is where searching really starts coming to its own, doesn't it? Because you can say, did you buy anything else? Yeah, I bought a potato masher. And that narrows it down pretty simply. So it's looking for a docket where we bought both of those things, and a mug and anything else. Yeah, one of those dish strainer things. So these are simple terms that a team member can type in, and it narrows it down to, in the past 6 months, only 20 sales that contain all of those things. So we can say, which branch did you buy it in? Here we go, we type in Albany. Now we're down to 2. And look, hey, was it November, October? Hey, let's go for the November one. There's a really good chance that we have found the correct sale, just that easy. And look, there's the toaster. We'll scroll down a wee bit, and there's the potato masher. You can see that there's a coffee mug here. There's the dish strainer. The coffee mug is showing as cannot be returned. I don't know why that is, but we're telling people straight up, there's, you can't do this, rather than wait till the end and it's a problem. So let's take the toaster. This didn't work. So we need to do some housekeeping here. Team member gets to type in, well, just choose from a list of options. It didn't work. So they're told that they need to send it back to our central return center. And we don't tick the product as resaleable, because we're not going to resell a toaster that doesn't go. So there we are. We have a validated return now. This is that original product sold. We're going to return the correct price that it was sold for. And we're going to record it was against that docket, and so on. There's a reasonable chance that if someone's brought something back, they're going to return something else. So we're not going to return the toaster again, because we can see that we've entered it there. But let's go for the potato masher, because let's face it, who needs a potato masher? Why not just use a fork? So the return reason for this, I'm going to go is not suitable, because really, maybe you like using potato mashers, but really a fork's good enough, and that's going to be resaleable. So there we go. Without any particular detail, we've managed to find that original transaction, and we've returned it. We can offer store credit. In this case, I'll say no. And we can say, do you want to return? Well, let's still cash, a bit of housekeeping here. We can print a little return slip to go on the toaster. when it gets sent back to the return center, and it's done. Now, this demo is actually recorded, but I want to show you something because that demo was kind of live when it was happening. So if we go and search for that same docket again, we'll use the same kind of search, the toaster and the masher and the mug and the drainer, and the same store. We end up getting the same search results. But that return that I just processed has been fed into Elasticsearch. It's gone into our cluster and it's been indexed. And look at that, it's showing up that it's already been returned. So you can see this is, it's live. It's just wonderful. So that brings me to this. Why do we need to do this? Well, each year there's millions of things being returned. That means we sell a lot of stuff, but you know, sometimes stuff has to come back. And when someone's bringing their stuff back, you know, a toaster that doesn't work or whatever, possibly a little bit stressed, we want to make that as simple as possible. And you saw how easy it was for team members to find the thing. There's no great interrogation about, do you have your docket? No, we can't do this. It's just easy. Elasticsearch smooths things along. And we stop giving so much profit away because we're going to return the amount of money that you paid. So when you do discounts and that sort of thing, special deals, maybe you bought it for half price. If you bring it back, we're going to give you the half price, the amount of money that you paid. And we want to reduce fraud, which is kind of the title of this thing. And let me explain that. Here's an example. Someone went into a store and bought an expensive Lego set, 300 bucks. It's quite a Lego set. I bought one of these for my grandson. He loved it. But this customer did something different with it. They returned it after they took a photo of their docket. I think this is how they did it, on their phone, and then used the photograph of the docket to return it 7 times in different stores and turn 300 bucks into $2,000 worth of cash for themselves. That's not good for profit. Here's a bunch of things that, I mean, who would suspect this? Homewares products, $480 worth of stuff, and they returned it 3 times using the same docket, using some kind of scam, and we give away $1,300, $1,400. Here's something that happened in December. This is when people are kind of relying on the fact that team members are potentially a bit stressed because it's busy. So they returned it 4 times using the same docket, and we've lost $1,000. This one I think is a bit cheeky. 13 times returning these products here. They gave up on the lounger and only returned it once, but the tent came back 8 times and we gave away $9,200. That's terrible. And that doesn't happen anymore. We've stopped that happening. So, hey, if you've got any ideas about making some spare cash, don't do it anymore. Because this just doesn't happen now. Team members are pretty comfortable when they can see that the thing has been returned. They can click on one of these returns and it'll show where and when, all that same thing that we're displaying here. And we have been able to see this sort of thing with our security cameras where we've been able to say, here's the original transaction and someone trying to return it and the customer going, well, team member saying, have you returned this already? And the customer saying, no, no, no. And of course, there's a little kid next to them going, yeah, 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 nodding away. And so top tip, if you're up for a scam, don't take your kids with you because they'll always give you away. So we've built this index with all this data in it. What else can we use it for? One of the things we can use it for, and I don't really know how to describe this, but we're going to call it loss prevention, because being able to spelunk through the data and just find stuff out using Kibana is kind of how we came up with those examples. It's been pretty good at doing that sort of thing. We're building a new loyalty engine, a loyalty program, and we want to be able to find customers very easily. We don't necessarily want you to bring a card with you or that kind of thing. We're going to be using Elasticsearch to find you. So you can say very simple things. And this is the holy grail as far as my boss is concerned, the CEO. He said he wants e-receipts. Now, I showed you how that return is modified. I could bring back the original docket on the screen and it would show that it had been returned and so on. We can do that when displaying your order history and so on. We can show you things like this item is on warranty and the warranty is about to expire, or it's broken and it's still in warranty for another couple of days. And the possibilities for how we can do this are pretty cool. I hear that the app team, we're making this available in our app rather than just an email that goes stale. It becomes kind of a living display. They're just taking it live now. And when we demoed it to the CEO, he did a little happy dance. So that's how we're using Elasticsearch. We put a little bit of creativity into the APIs and just the flexibility that allowed us to explore and do the sorts of things that we wanted to do. And you know what? I reckon if you were to do the same thing, you go and take your business problems and add in a little bit of creativity and add some Elasticsearch, you could end up with your boss doing a little happy dance too. So that's our story. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Trevor, for a great presentation. So what I'll do is I'll give you a chance to recover, have a glass of water, and if there's any questions, please note them in the chat. Okay. As there's no questions, we'll end the video session there. Thank you for participating, and the slides will be available shortly. Thank you.